Hi all and welcome to Papa Hiker's video series on wood burning camping stoves. I promised you an in-depth video on what I believe is the ultimate hobo stove design. Wood burning camp stove that is very easy to make, lightweight, cannot really break down and is very efficient at cooking and boiling your water. Now this is going to be a little longer and slightly nerdy video. Also I will be burning this stove in real time, so it's long. So if you're thinking, hey, just show me the stove and what's so great about it and maybe quickly how to make it, check out my other video on that. If you're still here, you want to see the nitty-gritty of this stove. So in this video I'll show you more in depth some things about this design, where it is different from other hobo stoves and why it's better. But also I'll show you some variations, a variation where you can collapse the stove, a variation that is floorless, and how you can use it to burn fuel taps and how you can use it to burn alcohol. So the side view of the burner is something like this. This is the back, this is the floor. Here is an opening for air. And this is the side opening where you see that the pot handles protrude through. And then you place the pot inside of it, like this. And this is where the pot handle will be. Got a lid, of course, like that. This is where one stake will be, all the way through, to support your pot. To be good, a camping wood stove has to burn well, and the heat it makes has to transfer to the pot. Those are the two criteria. Of those criteria, how well it burns is the most important one, because if it takes a minute longer, that's just fine, but you need to have the feeling that this is going to work. However, if the wind is cooling your pot down just as fast as the fire is heating it up, then you're getting nowhere also. So let's start with, where is this stove design different? Now most wood burning camping stove will look something like this or like this. This is a more classical hobo stove. This is a foldable box stove. And it'll be something like a little box or a little pot where a fire burns inside. Flames go up. There is your pot and the pot is heated by the flames. And this is a design that has been working for centuries. So let's not yuck on that. However, it has a few drawbacks, and one is that it doesn't have a very high chimney height, which means it burns less efficient, because as any wood stove installer will tell you, the chimney height determines how well your stove draws. The other thing is, unless you find a way to block wind from it, flames are just gonna have to lick around your pot to heat it up. And it's easily robbed from its heat by wind. So what this stove does is it solves two of those problems. One, look, the chimney height is here because the pot is integrated with the stove, which means that the chimney height is here, considerably higher than this one over here, and this one, it has a raised bed here, so the chimney height here is only this. And that increased chimney height means quicker and more efficient burning. Now this design, my design, also has a drawback. As you can see, a large portion of the pot is actually not even inside the stove. It's outside of the stove, so it's not being heated at all. This is apparently being offset by the fact that it draws really well and that it has a really good heat transfer on the other side, because in practice this works really well. So, how does it work? Cold air enters here. Hot air exits here. And this is where the burning takes place. Now the bottom of the pot acts as what used to be called a flame turner plate. And what happens is the hot air wants to move up, but it meets the pot bottom, and there's going to be swirling around of hot air, and that reignites the wood gases, which makes for a complete burn before flames and hot air and exits here. So this side of the pot is being heated, the bottom of the pot is being heated, and it starts boiling after a while. Now, I don't know if this afterburn effect actually takes place. What I do know is that it burns really quickly. I like to start burning it with the pot already on it, to use every BTU to heat my water, because hey, that's the point of burning the stove, it's cooking. I'm not doing this to keep myself busy. The wind is coming from that direction, which means I turn the stove like this. I always think to myself, oh, how do I have to recalculate the minutes? But you guys in America have the same minutes as we do in Europe, right? You don't have mile minutes. I'm not bored. Are you guys bored? Yay! 6 minutes 50. Doesn't sound very impressive. But it was a very stressless experience. The bare bones design with no extras. And I'll demonstrate that you can burn fuel taps and that you can burn alcohol using it just like this. Starting with a fuel tap. Now, if you use a tea light stove for fuel taps, it's important that you create a bathtub right here, because your fuel tap is gonna melt once it burns, and you wanna capture those liquids and not lose them. And I'll put it near the opening so it's easier to light. Like that. I have one fuel tap, 200 milliliters, so that's 1 cup of coffee in there. And note the difference. Wood, this is how you burn it using wood. If you move it back a little, air can enter on all sides and exit on all sides. Well, yeah, okay, kinda. And it's not great actually. Do it like this. Yeah, like that. Okay. And after 3 minutes the S-bit is gone, and this is hot enough for a cup of coffee. The same thing with alcohol. My only gripe with alcohol is that it's in liquid form. This is the same tea light stove, I'm just flipping it upside down. Filling it halfway. This is just a demonstration. I don't need my coffee to be piping hot. And after 4 minutes the alcohol is gone. And we have another cup of hot coffee. So this is the bare bones design, and as you can see it also works with alcohol and with fuel taps. But it can do a little better. One possible extra that you can do is add another stake here that also goes all the way through. And this means that you can move your pot, if this diameter is wide enough, to the middle, so that the pot comes here. And this means that you get a simmer effect, because once you move the pot away from here to the middle, the chimney height drops to there and the burning will slow down, giving you an option to simmer your food rather than cook it very quickly. Now this one, the bare bones design, will also burn alcohol or fuel taps. If you just place your fuel tap holder over here or your alcohol stove over here, it will burn like that, heat your pot, and that's gonna work. This variant on the left that has the 2 stakes is even better at burning alcohol or fuel taps, because you can place your fuel tap holder or your alcohol stove in the middle of the pot, and this is going to make the heat distribute better over the pot and make it boil quicker. However, if you want to have the optimal distance between the stove and the fuel tap and the pot, you have to drop this pot a little bit, and you can do that by not having only these 2 holes for your stakes, but also a little bit lower, and you can drop your pot. It will sit in your stove like this. And you will have the optimal distance between fuel tap and alcohol stove and the pot. However, do note that this may work with pots that are like this, have the handles on top, but it won't work with a pot that has the handles all the way to the bottom, like this one. So what I have done in recent years is not drop the pot to meet the stove, but to raise the stove to meet the pot. You just find something to put under your fuel tap holder or under your alcohol stove. And that way you get the optimal distance between pot and alcohol burner or fuel tap stove. This bare bones design, as you can see, will accommodate several sizes of pots. If you have a pot that is wider or higher, it's still going to fit in there. Your exit here is going to be narrower, but usually that doesn't impact burning here very much. So as long as these pots are not too different in diameter, they will all work. The height of the pot doesn't matter. So this pot, I have a stove that is specifically made for this pot. And that stove will also accommodate this pot no problem at all, and it will work. This one combines all the options that you have. First thing, it has 2 stakes. That means that you can place the pot on the side for quick wood burning, but you can place it in the middle to slow the wood burning down and you get a simmer option. Second thing is it's floorless. This means that if you want to burn fuel taps or alcohol, you can raise your tea light stove up so that it gets the perfect distance to your pot that you can then place in the middle to get an even distribution of heat around your pot. And this one is completely collapsible. It's not executed very well. The collapsible model I have had for a couple of years. I gave it away to somebody. So this is a bit of a B quality one. You'll have to forgive me for that. So it has the 2 stakes. These go through the top and the bottom that then come apart. And the bottom can be clipped loose. So what you then do is roll it up like that. This one rolls around it. If you do this in a smart way, your fingers are still gonna be clean. And you could put all sorts of stuff in there. And these go with your tent stakes, because you can use them as tent stakes. Is there a point in building this stove with a secondary burn option? A wood gas ignition option, like the Solo stove has? No, there isn't. I like stoves that have a secondary burn option. Awesome stuff, but with this stove there's just no point. Why? It takes a while for the stove to heat up, and then in a secondary burn option stove, the heated air will reignite wood gases that are not burnt yet. But it takes a while to heat up to the point where the air is so hot that it can reignite these wood gases. And by the time this stove is so hot that you reach that point, the water in this pot will already be boiling. So there's really just no point in doing it. Also, it would be kind of adding to the option it already has, because what this has is the flame turner plate.